Gary, I'm just wondering, you've been through bowl teams in Utah and all that, but we haven't had a lot of that in Logan the last little while with Utah State football. What's been the biggest difference do you see in your guys from having the bowl experience with some of these teams going into the year haven't had a long time?
Well, I would say this. They've been places where they've just kind of dreamt about being, and I think you can build from that. They've had some successes, which is always a positive to have success. But how you handle that success is the next step. I tell them all the time, it's one thing to achieve some success and have some positive things happen to you, but it's much harder to sustain success. And that's where we sit. But I don't really see a lot of things change with their personality or with their work ethic. But I think for me, to see their hard work pay off with some reward with a bowl game and having the opportunity to get some respect as a program it's very gratifying for me as a head coach for those kids.
Last year was probably one of the most unbelievable seasons a team could have, how you guys went through that year. I mean, you talk about highs and lows and having to experience it all.
It was. You look at the first game of the year started it all. It kind of went back and forth from there. There's no question.
You had the national champions beat on their field.
Yeah, we did. And I watched it for the first time when it was the 17th rated best game in college football last year. I told myself I was going to watch it, and I watched the whole thing. And a few times I had to tell myself, just take a big deep breath. Utah State's on TV right now in July, and it's on national television, and that's a good thing. But you sit back and you look at that, and it was so close, and we were fragile, and I mean, I would probably quickly say it, and simply say it is, we were all fragile at that point. As a head football coach, you look at yourself in the mirror in some tough situations. Then you go 2-5 and 28-7 down at Hawaii, and things weren't looking much better at that point either. And after a tough loss at Louisiana Tech, and these kids just they found a way to believe and dig down deep and want to take the next step, and from there they made plays. And, like I say all the time, players make plays, players win games. And it was just it was a great ride the last 5 weeks and all the way through the bowl experience.
Again, the only thing was the bowl experience turned out to be one of those like early in the season you had.
Absolutely, it was a tough loss and against a very good football team. We knew they were a good football team, and a good test for us to see where we were outside of our conference. But again, hopefully those things drive our kids and makes them want more. And I think when you have success, if you're stalemated and you sit just stagnant in the water, you won't progress. But I believe this group is hungry to take the next step. They know it will be very competitive within our conference and a very tough non-conference schedule also to go on top of that.
It is life without Turbin, Wagner, Smith. These guys, coach, were more than great players. They were your leaders of your football team. So that's got to be a little bit of a concern.
Yeah, it is. You talk about that all the time when you walk into spring practice. And I've said it before. I think we searched for a while, and then we're looking for number 6. Where is he? How are we going to get him back out here? Looked around for Bobby and looked around for Michael. But the kids adapted. They move on. So the kids have to pick up the leadership role, and that was really important to me, and not just on the field, but off the field, how they were handling themselves. And, kids got to take care of each other when coaches aren't around. And I think we've developed that. I think it got better through spring. And we'll see as we get into fall camp here. But I have high expectations, and I push those kids hard. The 2 young men that are here today, Matt and Boj, I push them hard to be leaders. I won't let up in that area. And if we're having a down practice or whatever it may take, I expect them to be able to, grab the bull by the horns and get ourselves moving in the right direction. So we had tremendous leaders. We have potential at the leadership position right now, and I expect in 2 or 3 weeks from now I can say that we have very good leaders again, but time will tell.
What's the strength of your team going into this year?
Quarterback, without question. I think if I would say number 2 would be, as long as we stay healthy, we have what I think is a strong, pretty nasty offensive line that likes to get after you and pride themselves in running the football, and a quality back to go along with that. But we don't have a number 2 back right now. and I don't say that really in a negative way, but I haven't seen anybody take the number 2 back spot. And we have 4 young men that are going to battle for that spot. On the defensive side, if it was a bright point, it would be the secondary. I feel good about them really from top to bottom. I think they're going to be solid, and they should be because they're talented. They should be a good crew, and we have some depth there. The linebacker position is unproven with other than Boje, but Kyle Fackrell is very talented. Lars McMillan is very talented. Jake Dowdy is very talented. He's been in the program for 3 years, so we should be fine there.
So where's the concern? Where's the weakness?
Defensive one. You know me. It's hard for me to say that, but I don't say that because there's not players. I say that because of the youthfulness, and so many things can change in a game to test you mentally and to test you physically when you play in the trenches of the defensive line. I saw development in spring. I'll be relentless on that crew. I mean that. They know that. I will not let up. If it's not great, I'm going to make them feel like it was bad. And I've been around those kids for a long time and coached them for a long time, and they need to understand that it is the hardest position to play, snap in and snap out, because it's the most contact, and you don't know where people are coming from, so you have to be so tough-minded and play within your technique every snap, whether you're tired or whether you're fresh. And, they're talented. Got the ability, but they need to hone it in and get it done in fall camp, so that'll be a big test.
The other concern that I saw last year that was there was special teams were so erratic, and kicking was a struggle last year.
Yeah, I felt like we kicked the ball much better in the spring. Tyler punted the ball well, inconsistent. Numbers were good, but kind of scattered the ball in a lot of different spots, and there's some positives too. That's some teams, that's their strategy. We'll have a little bit about this year, a little bit of that as we move forward this year. Field goals, we need to find a way to produce and be better. And nothing's ever automatic. But there's times when you're on the 25-yard line or in, it's a good snap, good protection, the ball should go in. And we had a very good holder last year, and we were inconsistent at the kicking spot. We had a good snapper last year. Got our snapper back. Jaron Bentry did a nice job of holding in the spring. We have some tough-minded kickers who have talent. Classify them a lot like the defensive line. You got to produce. They have the talent. Now we've got to get them to do it on game day. But I agree, that's a place where we need to be able to win games in the PAT field goal department, and we haven't been able to do that yet.
And then what about the changes in coaching staff? I mean, with success, usually this happens. I mean, you're going to lose coaches from year to year, and you did.
Yep. We talk about that as a staff all the time. With success, there's going to be change. If the change is staying with us because it's the best position for you, or it's to move on, then that's fine, and that's part of this profession. And I think that we understand that, and the kids understand that. But I feel good about this staff. I feel the most comfortable with this staff of any staff since I've been here, from top to bottom. I like the breakdown of them. I'm still not the oldest, so we had to get Coach Sanford in here to keep me from being the oldest guy. So he's still the oldest one, but he brings a lot of great ideas. He brings a lot of stability, an unbelievable offensive mind, and he's a great sounding board for me as a head coach, because he's been a head coach, he's been in the NFL, he's a very, very good recruiter. He's not afraid to say what he feels and what he thinks. So he's a great addition. Dave Aranda's done a tremendous job. I think Dave's come in and wrapped his arms around our defense and the scheme of our defense, and now he's in a position to start adding the tweaks that he likes. For him, I think myself and Dave can work very, very well together, and it's a good defensive staff. Bill's been around forever, and Kevin's been around forever. Kendrick does a nice job, and I think Frank has really grown up the last 6 months. Really since January, I challenged Frank to take the next step as a coach in recruiting, number one, which is always the most important thing we do, and with the development of his players. And I'm really pleased with the way Frank's grown up and developed himself. So, coaches are doing a nice job. I think Matt's ready to go out and be a coordinator. There's bumps in the road the first time. You think but when you haven't done it, you still haven't done it. And that's why I think it's so important to have Mike there with Matt as we move forward into the season.
Well, we look forward to it. Again, get started here right away. Gosh, the game, the Southern Utah game, you might face one of the better quarterbacks you're going to face all year long in the very first game of the season, and the quarterback who's down there and the Sorensen kid.
Yeah, he's a really good player, and all you got to do is flip on the tape and watch what they did last year to UNLV. That game was was not a close game. It was at UNLV, and Southern Utah went up and down the field and kind of did what they wanted to, and that was a big victory for them. So it's a solid team. We got a long camp in front of us. You know, one thing I'd like to say is it's all open to all the Aggies, so please come to the practices. We'd love to have you there. It's great for the kids. I think it's great for the fans who want to come out and see us. But there's nothing closed. We won't close it down until the week before Southern Utah.
Going to use a lot of the new turf in the stadium?
Yeah, we'll get in there. It's supposed to be done in the next couple of days, so we'll get out there and come see the hole in the ground for the new weight room. It looks awesome. It's going to be great, but the new turf's there, and we're excited to get started and again represent Cache Valley, Utah State, the way it should be, which is first class and with kids that you'll be proud of on and off the field.
Okay. Thanks, Gary.